This morning in English we're going to be looking at the last three sections of our fox text, starting with looking at where do foxes live. So let's read that section together. Where do foxes live? Foxes live underground. They dig themselves a cosy home called a den. They are very sociable animals and live in a group called a skulk. In England, many foxes live in towns or cities so that they can scavenge food. Other foxes live in the countryside. And let's have a read of what do foxes eat together. What do foxes eat? And again, like where do foxes live, they are both subheadings, so they are both underlined. Foxes hide food close to their home and save it for later. They eat berries, worms, spiders, and other small animals. City foxes often look for food in the rubbish we throw away, so make sure you keep your wheelie bin shut tight. And the last section is our wow fact. Foxes are nocturnal. This means they sleep in the day and are awake at night. So we're going to look at this box, where do foxes live? And like with yesterday, I've used my ruler and my pencil to draw my boxes so that I know where the boxes are and I can remember that. So, where do foxes live? I've done my title, my subheading, I've underlined it, and I put a question mark for where do foxes live. And at the end of my sentence, I've put a question mark to remember my punctuation still. My first line, let's read it together. Foxes live underground. So like yesterday, you can join in with the pictures that I've drawn, drawing them at home in your book or on a sheet of paper, or if you'd like to do your own pictures, then you can, if you are happy to do that, then you can draw your own if you'd like to. So foxes live underground, and I've remembered my punctuation, so I put a full stop on the end. Let's read the next sentence. They dig themselves a cosy home called a den. So for dig, I have drawn a little spade. They dig themselves a cosy home called a den, and I've drawn the fox in the den. Our next sentence. They are very sociable animals and live in a group called a skulk. So they're very sociable, so I've drawn a group of people to show that they're sociable, and skulk was a tricky one for us to draw a picture for, so Miss Bangham has written the word instead. And at the end of the sentence I have put my full stop to remember my punctuation. In England, many foxes live in towns or cities so that they can scavenge food. So I've drawn our Union Jack again. In England, many foxes live in towns or cities so that they can scavenge food. And I've drawn some food on a plate for that one. And again, at the end of my sentence, I have put, what is it? I've put a full stop. Other foxes live in the countryside. So I've drawn the fox in the countryside and I've got my full stop. Now let's move on to what do foxes eat? Foxes hide food close to their home and save it for later. So I've got my what do foxes eat subheading, and at the end, like with the last subheading, I've put my question mark to remember my punctuation, and I've underlined it to show that it's a subheading. Foxes hide food close to their home and save it for later. So I've got my fox, and then I've drawn a person covering their eyes to show hide their food close to their home and save it for later. I've drawn a clock to show later. And I've got my full stop on the end to show my punctuation. They eat berries, worms, spiders and other small animals with my full stop on the end. City foxes often look for food in the rubbish we throw away. So I've got the city foxes, and I haven't drawn an arrow because those two words go together. So my city foxes often look for food in the rubbish we throw away. I've drawn a rubbish bin to show that. So make sure you keep your wheelie bin shut tight. So I've got my wheelie bin lid open, and then I've got some hands going like this to show shut tight. And actually, Miss Bangham has put the wrong punctuation on the end of that. So can you see here what the punctuation is that we need instead? I need to be using an exclamation mark instead of a full stop like the one I've put. So I'm going to change this to my exclamation mark at the end of my sentence. And my last box, my wow fact. Wow, foxes are nocturnal. This means that they sleep in the day and are awake at night. So on my text map, I've got my subheading underlined and I've got my exclamation mark to show my wow fact. Foxes are nocturnal. I've drawn a moon because, as we have found out, we know that this means they sleep in the day and are awake at night. And I could draw in a sun when they're sleeping to show that it's the daytime. So they sleep in the day and are awake at night. And I've got my full stop on the end of my sentence. So here is all of my text mapping for today. And that finishes off our text mapping of our All About Foxes fact file. So you can draw your own images to show this, like you might have done yesterday, or if you're finding it a little bit more tricky, you can use my pictures and you can copy those into your book.